For more updates, click on subscribe and click on bell button for latest notifications.
Hi friends, welcome to Tech ARK IT YouTube channel. My name is Ravi. In this video session, we are going to see that how you can deploy multi-available zone deployment using the auto scaling. Like how you can deploy the auto scaling groups using the auto scaling group, which will automatically have the instance available and based on the availability are they based on the yep, upcoming traffic. The instances will automatically bring up, like it's going to be in a horizontal scaling process. How we can do that? So we have the application load balancer. Under that you have the multiple EC2 instances. The load will be distributed across to the EC2 instances. So that is the architecture we are going to deploy using the auto scaling groups. So that is the auto scaling method we are going to use it. So how is this going to be and what is the process here? So example, here you see that there are some users coming in and they are hitting the load balancer URL. So we publish this application load balancer URL to the users, so they are trying to access the platform. Example, it might be the streaming platform, it might be the website platform, or it might be the e-commerce platform, whatever it is. So we say that this application load balancer is example www.amazon.com or www.arkit.co.in, something like that. So once they hit this URL ALB, the application load balancer, then they could able to browse the website which we have published. How we publish the website? So we have the Linux EC2 instances. Two Linux EC2 instances are more than that, maybe a 10 or 6 or whatever it is, how many count you want you can set up. But as for this practical, we are going to do is two EC2 instances, which is web server enabled on both of them. The common storage, the shared storage we have is here is EFS storage. So the is EFS storage, which is a NAS storage, which is going to mount here and here for web content distribution. Example, the user is committed some transactions or did something on your website, then that content, okay, it might be the user is redirected here. So the user one is accessing currently the web server 1, but you don't know whether he is accessing web server 1, web server 2, but application load balancer know that okay, the user is in web server 1, so he's making some changes or is committing some transaction to that web server. What happens is that the content whatever he is bringing or is committing the changes, that will be stored on this NAS box, which is called as an EFS storage. So where it will store is in the EFS store. So when the user 2, example, when user 2 is trying to come here and hit the application load balancer and launch to EC2 instance web server 2, then he could also see the similar changes whatever the user 1 is changed. Since it is a shared storage, so whatever you change here or change here, the storage is here, which is in a shared directory which is mounted to the both the instances. So that's the architecture we are going to make it. So which is going to be the auto scaling groups. Whenever the instances went bad or something happened, what happened, it's automatically launch the another EC2 instance based on the availability or desired capacity what we keep it. Okay, otherwise example say that there are more user coming in, expecting I'm expecting 1 or 2 users coming in, but there might be more users coming in to the accessing that website. Then what happens, you required maximum capacity to serve those users. So based on the maximum capacity, it will spin up more and more and more and more EC2 instances here, and that will be joined to this under the ALB, and that will be mounted this EFS storage so that the users can land on this EC2 instance or this EC2 instance as well. Okay, so that's how the architecture works. And basically, let's see that how that you can do using the EC2 mechanism. So in similar to, if you remove all of them, the uh, joining and all the stuff, this is the simple architecture, which is going to be the users, which is access the hit the application load balancer URL, and they land to one of the EC2 instance, and access the web server, and the content, whatever it is stored, which is in the shared storage web content folder, right, that would be mounted across to the EC2 instances. Okay, let's go ahead and see what we can do it here and what are the steps we have to follow. So let's jump into the AWS console. So here is the AWS console I have logged in. Now what I'm going to do is that to create, first of all, I have to make this like as I said in this diagram. So I have to create the security groups first. Okay, security group 1, which is a load balancer security group, where we allow the port number 80, and the second security group where we allow that, which is a web server group, web server security group, we allow SSH port number and the load balancing custom port number, which is an 80 port number, right? And here is an EFS security group where we allow 2049 port number, which is the NFS protocol to mount this EFS storage to the EC2 instances. Now what I'm going to do, first of all, I have to create the key pair to access the EC2 instances. So I don't have anything, this is a fresh and clean AWS console I just logged in. So just go to the key pairs and create the key pair and say my key pair name is techarkit web server, something like this. And maybe I will add this name is going to be the techarkit web server access. So maybe I put some date here so that it would be easy for us to remember, right? And create the key pair. So now my key pair is available, key pair is automatically downloaded here, and I could able to access if I spin up any EC2 instances. So my key pair is completed. Now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to create the security groups. First I have to create the 3 security groups and allow the port numbers. So by default I have one security group on the VPC. This is one default one. The first security group I am going to make is the load balancer security group, which is going to be an external facing one, where it allow the port number 80. So I say this is load balancer security group, so that it would be easy identification for us. And the VPC is going to be a default one. I'm going to make the inbound rule where we allow the HTTP port number to the external facing. In this case I'm going to make it anywhere to the public, which means that the website should be accessible anywhere from the world when they hit the load balancer URL. Let's say anywhere access to the web URL. So in outbound you don't need to make any changes. This by default allowed all things. And let's say name it, here is name LBSG, so easy identification for the tagging. And let's create the security group. So now our first security group has been created. Now again go back to the security groups and create the second security group, which is going to be the web SG, so web server security group, servers security group. And here we are going to make the SSH protocol enabled, which is going to be the, as of now I'm going to make it public, SSH access from anywhere, and I'm making the another HTTP access, so which is going to be the custom one, and make it from the allow LBSC here, since we are allowing the HTTP from the external facing, right? Allow HTTP to LBSC. So these are the two access ports we have to enable on this inbound rules for the WebSC group, and let's say name is going to be the web server security group, and say create this one. So now I have created one more security group, and say now one going to create another security group which is called as EFS-SG, which is the EFS access, right? Let's say EFS security group. Now make the rule here which we are going to access the NFS, which is going to be the custom one, and add the WebSG group here. So the web servers security group accesses 2049 port. So it is not going to be the public, which is going to access by the web servers, and say I'm going to name it, which is the EFS-SG, and security create. So now I have made three security groups. One is an LBSC, which is going to be an external facing one. I allowed 80 port number from anywhere, and the next one is the EFS security group, which is going to be the port number 2048, and the best protocol is allowed to the web servers to mount the EFS storage, the staged storage. And the next one, I have created the web security group, which is going to be the SSH access from anywhere, and the HTTP access to the LBSC group. And what are the traffic? It's the load balancer that would comes to the WebSC group. So that's the three security groups first I have created. Now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to create the EFS. So the next step is going to be the first create the EFS share and make it ready first. EFS, and go to EFS elastic file system. Now what I'm going to do is that create file system, and here say my any name you can give it here, my EFS, right? And click on the customize. So here I'm selecting the standard because I'm deploying the EC2 instances of the multiple availability zone. So I need to access from multiple availability zones. Otherwise you can also select one zone, which is not a redundant but a cost effective solution. If you do not require the much securing your data, you don't require the cost effective, you want to cost effective storage but not redundant is required, like less critical data, you can select this one. But critical data or multi availability zones, you can select this one. By default, enable the backups for 30 days, which is the default policy. You can also select whatever you want, so that is not our focus, so I'm not talking about that. Encryption, so by default encryption is enabled with the rest. What are the data you stored on that particular EFS, that's going to be encrypted. So, and throughput, how much throughput you want. So based on your requirement, for the demo purpose I'm just selecting the enhanced one. If you are looking for the a larger IO, maybe you can select the busting options and the provisioned access, so that it will provide the more details, like the more performance to your EFS storage. Okay, nothing much here, I just given the my EFS name here, that's it, all are default. Click next. Now here, what are the subnets you wanted to select? So you have to select the subnets here and remove the security group, and we have to add the security group, which is going to be the EFSSG here. EFSSG, we have already created that one. I am allowing those EFSSG here too, right? And default VPC and to security, the security group is going to be the EFSSG. Click next and click next and finish the creation. So it will going to create the EFS. So it stays that it says creating, and meanwhile we just go to select this attach command here. This is the command we need quiet, and copy that command and be ready with that command, so that we can later up point of time we can use that command here. Okay, so that's the one thing we required from the EFS. Now let's go back to our EC2 instances and now create the target group. So the target group which we are focusing for, what is the target group and what is the options we have to select over there. Let's go to target groups here, load balancing and target groups, and say create target group. In target group, let's say we are focusing on instances. As of now, we are not focusing any other functionality here. We are making the instances available for the horizontal scaling, right? So that's why we are making instances here, and target group name, whatever you can make it, like application one or app one, whatever it is. And what is the protocol? We are basically focusing on HTTP protocol, so that's why HTTP 80 port is by default enabled, and which version you want to select it, either of the is fine. So HTTP 1 by default, and here I wanted to check like the page, custom page, what we have is that if this page is accessible, my application is healthy. So that's the indication here, and select check status.html. So this is the page I'm going to create in my web script, and it should be accessible always, so that it consider that if it is accessible, my EC2 instance is healthy. So that's the target. And click on the advanced check statuses, right? Health threshold, if you want to modify, let's say for now I say 3 minutes is the one, and unhealthy threshold is 2, and timeout is 5 seconds, and intervals I just make it as a 10 seconds for now. So whatever the based on your requirement, you can put those rules how you want to divide that one, and click next. Now here I don't have any instances to add here, on nothing I have here. Okay, let's say create target group. So the target group will create in few minutes. It will take a few minutes to create that one, right? There is no association as of now. Let's go ahead and create the application load balancer now. So we have target group ready, we have security groups ready, we have EFSs ready. Let's go ahead and create the application load balancer. So say go to load balancers and create the load balancer. Now here I am selecting the application load balancer and say create. Here application load balancer, give the name, whatever the name you want, my ALB, something like this, to identification, and it should be the internet facing, because the users are going to hit the URL from the internet access, and IP address is going to be the IPv4 as of now, and I'm going to select both the zones, which is the West 1A, West 1B, right? So the from the VPC, and the security group perspective. So I have to select the LBSG security group, which is the internet facing security group, LBSG here, right? We allowed the 80 port from anywhere. So here you have to select the target group, which we have already created. This one, app one. So just now we have created, you have to select that one. Now let's see that on services load balancing stuff, anything you don't need to do anything stuff here. This is what we want. So to review it on the load balancer creation, we just provided the load balancer name and select the internet facing type and IPv4 default VPC and select the availability zones here and assign the security group value here, which is going to be the external facing load balancer security group, and protocol is HTTP 80 and the target group what we have created, that one, app1, and say create load balancer. So now load balancer is going to create, and you can copy this URL and paste it here. Just for now it does not have anything, so it does not show as, but later once the application is up and running, we can see that the web server should be working fine here, right? So now our what we have did is key pair creation, security group creation, EFS creation, and the target groups and the application load balancer has been created. So now what we have to do is that the final step is going to be the create the auto scaling groups. How you can create the auto scaling groups? So click on the auto scaling and auto scaling groups. So here what we define is that we define the logic, like what is the OS and what is the instance type, what is the key pair we have to use, what is the security group we have to use, and we provide some script to automatically deploy the application and bring up that application online, so that we could able to make this instance ready. Okay, that is going to be a launch templates at the launch template configuration that will make our instance ready. So let's say create auto scaling group here. Now say what is your auto scaling group here. Let's say ASG. My auto scaling group name is ASG1. Now you have to create the launch template. Launch template means when you are launching the EC2 instance, what you are expecting from that. Example, I am launching the EC2 instance. So if you just launch the EC2 instance, your application does not work, right? So what you have to do? So I have to launch the EC2 instance. First of all, you have to deploy the packages what you required, install the packages on them, and start the service, and attach the application code, the deployed code or there, so that when EC2 instance is online, you could able to access that application. So that's what we're going to deploy it here. Okay, create launch template. So here two ways you can do that. One is you can make your own AMI from the EC2 instance, which is already pre-installed everything and make ready one. Then you can use that AMI to spin up the EC2 instance. Otherwise, you can also make this launch template where it will select the one of the EC2 instance and the OS, and it will do the post installation script steps so that it will make your application ready or the web server ready. Now here what I'm going to say, web server 1 and template version, let's say maybe web server .1, that is my version name I just given for my identification purpose. Here I required Amazon Linux. Okay, my requirement says I require Amazon Linux. So whatever your requirement, you can select based on what is your operating system. Okay, and by default I'm selecting the Amazon Linux 2023 AMI, and architecture is 64-bit, and instance type, since I'm in free tier, I'm selecting the T2 macro, and key pair we already created the key pair here. You can select that key pair, and network subnet. So no need to select any network subnets here. Let's leave it and select the existing group. So the existing group is going to be the web servers group, which we allow port SSH 22 and 80. That is the security groups we required to put that uh, web server into that particular security group, right? Storage volumes, we does not require anything, since we don't have the storage. This storage we are not using, we are using the EFS storage to mount it over there, right? And resource tags, if you want to give it, maybe you can just give it, but not required if you can, and click on the advanced details and go all the way down here, and you have to make the script here. So the script actually what it will do, it will actually mount the install the application and configure the application, bring up the services, all this stuff it will do, right? I'm specifying the script slash bin slash bash and say m update. Since this is a Linux, it's going to do m install httpd-y. It will install the web application systemctl start httpd systemctl enable httpd. And what I'm going to do is that here I'm going to mount my EFS. So I have already copied that command one time, right? So that is going to be our EFS slash var ww html. So this is where my default web server configuration is going to be. So that's where I'm mounting this EFS. So this is where my web code is going to be deployed. Now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to make two pages, right? Two HTML pages. That's going to make a simple things is that echo web server is working fine. Okay, that is one of the just a page. I'm going to make it to the default index.html, and another one I'm going to say that check status.html. This is the check I have created for our groups. So that's where it will check that the status, the load balancer status, and if the application is accessible, the page is accessible, then it could able to make that our application is running fine. Okay, this is the simple script configuration, and let's say launch the create the template. So now our launch configuration has been created. So you can say that view launch template. This is the launch template here, and let's say refresh and select that launch template here and say next. Here default VPC and select the availability zones. How many you have? So I have two availability zones here, and click next. And here which one you have to select. So you have to select the load balancer, attach this one. So I have load balancer, I have to attach that one. So choose the load balancer target group. So this is the load balancer I have to select here, and health check status is going to be 300 seconds by default, and that's it. Here nothing else. And click next. And here what is your desired capacity means it always how many EC2 instances are the virtual machines you wanted to keep it as a desired capacity, and minimum capacity, and how many maximum capacity you can keep it. Okay, so desired capacity is going to be 1, and minimum is 1, and the maximum is 3 I have set up. So as per your requirement you can set up that one, and click next. Here click next, click next, and so here we have to actually create the options based on what parameters our group is going to be scaling, right? That scaling policies you have to create, target tracking scaling policies here. So we have to make the tracking policy. So based on what parameters our EC2 instance should bring up. So either your network load balancer or CPU load or whatever the parameters you have. So you have to select the parameter here. For now, to simulate easy, I have the CPU utilization is a parameter where I have to bring another instance to my load balancer, right? So that is a target value is going to be the 80, and how much time it should take before it's warm up the another instance. Okay, so that might be I say 100 seconds, which is going to be almost 1.5 minutes, right? Then once hit the 80% of your CPU utilization on the particular instance, EC2 instance, it wait for 1.5 minutes. Then if still the utilization is 80, then it will bring the another instance and add to that particular scaling group. Next and next. So here nothing much, we have to select and click create. So now create the auto scaling group. So our auto scaling group has been created and all of this stuff is done. Now let's go ahead and look at the EC2 instances. So now you can see that there is a EC2 instance coming up. This EC2 instance by default go to add into the load balancer and it will bring up the application. Once the application is the EC2 instance is online, the checks are completed, you can go ahead and browse your application load balancer. Then it will show you the application. Right? Just go ahead and refresh this one. So now it says service temporarily not available. Still the service is not up. Once the EC2 instance is up and running, the checks completed, then you could able to see the service. You can see that the web server is working fine. This is the application what we have deployed on this particular EC2 instance, right? So now I have initial application is running fine for me, but now I have to simulate the auto scaling. So let's bring this up, wait for the few minutes to complete the checks and we can access the EC2 instance and simulate the stress. Then we can able to bring another EC2 instance parallelly. So now you can see our EC2 instance is completed checks and it is healthy up and running. Now let's connect to this EC2 instance. So now our EC2 instance is accessible. Let's switch back to the root user to install the packages. Right here, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to install yum install stress tool, which is a package which is make more CPU stress simulation on this particular server. So I'm going to say yum install screen to deploy the multiple stress on the multiple screens here. Okay, the screen is already available. Now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to open one screen here which say stress 1. Now stress -c2. So this is going to be simulate your stress on that particular EC2 instance, which will keep on stressing your EC2 instance. Let's detach that screen, and again I'm going to open one more stress here, stress 2, and I'm going to run multiple stress commands so that it will quickly simulate CPU utilization. Now you just go to top and see. So currently the usage is almost hitting 100%, right? Now let's see screen -ls. There is a 2 stress which is already simulated, and let's go ahead and watch our utilization here. EC2 instance. Let's check the monitoring status and go to your CPU utilization and bring this one to 1 second of average, and let's refresh. So let's see what is the CPU utilization it brings up. And it does not have any EC2 instances as of now, one only. And go to target group, click on the auto scaling groups and monitor for the actions what it is doing. You can see that here this is the first instance which made out of the auto scaling group, which is the desired capacity. So now you can see which is almost hitting the 99% of your CPU load of that particular instance. Now it will wait for 1.5 minutes and bring up this activity here, so it can bring up another EC2 instance in a minute. So this action will be notified to the auto scaling group, and the auto scaling group will bring up another EC2 instance. So now I can just refresh it here. It does not have. The interval what we have put it as 100 seconds, so it should wait 100 seconds. Then you can see that now it kicked in the another action saying that a monitor alarm for the tracking of AC alarm is been triggered, and your desired capacity, actual capacity, increased to the 2. So now you can see there should be another instance coming up. So another instance is bringing up. You can see is going to be pending, and in meanwhile it should be available. But once this warm up is completed and the EC2 instance is up, then once the users are hitting the URL, they will be redirected to the another EC2 instance. Since this instance is completely filled up, you can see that this instance is almost reaching 90% of the CPU utilization for the containers. So that's how you can make the auto scaling groups available, auto scaling groups configuration on the online. But once this CPU stress has been completed, it takes a few minutes or maybe a few minutes to remove this another EC2 instance from the ALB. Then it makes your again the desired capacity is 1, so it will keep the only one instance and another instance will go off. That's all about this video. Thanks guys, thanks for watching. Stay tuned. Please subscribe to the channel for more upcoming videos and courses. Stay tuned for the more AWS videos, and do not forget to clean up your infrastructure on the AWS, otherwise you'll get the cost. It will be charged to your credit card.
Please follow us on social networking sites. One is Facebook. The Facebook page name is @Linux ARKIT. You can click on this button here and click like page so that you can follow us on Facebook. The next one is Instagram. Instagram name, page name is arkit.co.in. Click on follow button to follow me. And Twitter, if you have any questions on subject line, or if you have anything, you can just tweet me at @ravikumar48, so I will reply you most on the tweet back. For anything related, if you want the latest articles on my website, so here is my website details and email address details. You can reach me over here.